my name is Steve Olson from It's a CAD World. In this example, we're going to take a look at the ability for iLogic to find the appropriate iPart or iAssembly to be placed inside an assembly based off of some size criteria and some searching. We're also going to incorporate into this the error checking that if it cannot find an appropriate size, it'll give the user some sort of message. First thing we're going to do is we're going to create the rule that's going to check or find the appropriate cabinet door. So down here in my iLogic browser under rules, I'm going to right click and say add rule. I'm going to call this size door or doors. It is important to note that both of these openings are designed to be the same, therefore the doors that are supposed to cover them should be identical as well. So I need to create two criteria here. We'll call it door height. And the door height, our door height is going to be equal to inside the cabinet front. There are model parameters called width and height for the cutouts. So here, door height, there is a cutout height. So I went into the front, reached into its model parameters, and grabbed the front cutout height. I'm going to do the same thing with the width. Door width equals model parameter cutout width. Now, it's also important that for the size of the door, our standard is that the door should be 3/4 of an inch bigger. So I'm going to add 0.75 to each of these values here to get the appropriate size for what the height and width of the door should be. I'm then going to run the iPart find row function to have it search through the doors and find the appropriate door. If you notice, if you hover over this find row snippet, in this little description, it'll let you know that if it cannot find one, I will equal -1. And we're going to use that in our error checking here in a minute. So for our component name, we're going to use left door and right door. Left door, and we're going to say inside that iPart we happen to have a column called door height. And we're going to find where that column has a value equal to door height, our variable here in this file. I'll repeat this same criteria for the width. So door width equals door width. The same function, the same statement will be carried out for both the left and the right door. So I'm just going to copy and paste this statement again, and this time we're going to deal with the right door. So again, I just copied what I typed for the left door and pasted it for the right door, and then I'm going to reuse that. So again, the other thing I want to make sure is that if for some reason, by our standard, we maybe put a cutout in there that's not going to have an appropriate door, I want to then do some error checking and some feedback to the user that it could not find an appropriate door based off the cutout size that we have. So I'm going to use the if-then structure. I'm going to say if I equals -1, which based off the way the rule is structured, this I is going to equal -1 if it could not find the appropriate size. A couple ways I want the user to see some feedback is I want to use the verbal voice commands built into Windows. So on the custom tab up here, I'll switch over to that, and you'll see that there's a Windows voice command. So I'm going to double click on that. It will add some statements to that in this rule. I'm going to indent this a little bit. And then in this field, I can type in whatever I want the computer to say to the user. So in this case, I'm going to say unable to find appropriate door. I also want iLogic to give the user a dialog box explaining to them they could not find the appropriate door. So I'm going to go into my message box. This will say size door. It will be an error, and we'll have it say unable to find an appropriate door. Please change door opening and try again. Looks pretty good. I'll say OK to that. It'll add that line to my rule, just all the information it needs to do that. And one last thing, I thought it would be pretty neat to have the rule then open up the cabinet front for the user in order to do this. So I'm going to copy and paste into here a couple lines that I've already set up to do this. You can see here basically the front file is the document path of this file, and then a subfolder, parts and assemblies, and then we're going to grab the part number off of the front file, which is our company standard is that we put the part number on, or the file name and the part number would be equal to each other, append an IPT, and then we tell it launch the front file. So you can see from my rule already that we don't match yet. Let's go ahead and say OK to this. It's going to launch the rule. In this case, it's going to run that, and we should get an error here.
Unable to find appropriate door.
So there's our error message. Now we're getting our dialog box. We'll say OK. It will then launch the file. Let me make a couple parameter changes here just to make this work. So let's change this to just going to change this down a little bit. We should be okay, so I'll say save here, close this, go back to this assembly, tell it to run this rule, and there, now we find an appropriate door that fits. So, thank you for watching this video. Please look for more of my iLogic and other Autodesk product videos on It's a CAD World. Thanks.